From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Jonathan Smith reporting. An Iranian court has sentenced a Chinese-American scholar to 10 years in prison on, quote, infiltration charges. The announcement triggered an immediate protest from the U.S. State Department. Zhu Wang, a 37-year-old dual national of China and the United States, was arrested almost a year ago, according to the Iranian judiciary. The State Department, in a statement to news agencies, said the Iranian regime continues to detain U.S. citizens and other foreigners on fabricated national security-related changes. At least 4 Iranian Americans are currently being held in Iran, and a 5th is free, pending an appeal of his sentence of 18 years in prison for alleged national security crimes. Israeli security forces shot and killed a Palestinian man who opened fire on them early Sunday in the occupied West Bank. The Israeli police and military had been looking for the suspect, who they believed had carried out 2 shooting attacks on Israelis in the West Bank Saturday. Israeli police spokesman Mickey Rosenfeld said the terrorist was found and surrounded. He pulled out his weapons, pointed them at the Israeli security forces, and in response, the terrorist was killed in the West Bank village of Nabi Salah, near the city of Ramallah. 1 Palestinian was lightly wounded as well in the shooting. There were no Israeli casualties. You're listening to news from the Voice of America in Washington. French President Emmanuel Macron and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday remembered the victims of a mass deportation of French Jews to Nazi camps during the Holocaust. Fewer than 100 people survived after 13,000 people were rounded up and sent to concentration camps in July 1942. The comments of the Prime Minister.
75 years ago, a heavy darkness descended on this city of lights. The Nazis, yes, the Nazis and their collaborators in France, they shattered the lives of thousands of French Jews at Veldiv. It seems that the values of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, fraternity, these values were crushed.
Netanyahu and Macron later spoke about the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, the Iran nuclear deal, and French-Israeli technological cooperation. Iraqi police on Sunday paraded through Baghdad in celebration of the recapture of Mosul from the Islamic State terrorists. Mosul is the second largest city in northern Iraq and was the militants' primary stronghold in the country. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi announced the liberation of Mosul on July 10th. Gunmen on motorcycles fired on a group of voters in Caracas casting ballots Sunday in a non-binding referendum on Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro's plans for a new constitution. Opposition officials say 1 woman was killed and 3 other people were wounded. They blame the attack outside a church in one of the poorer districts of Caracas on pro-government paramilitaries. Turnout was reported heavy for the opposition-sponsored referendum, asking voters whether they approve of a July 30th election for a special assembly to draft a new constitution. The opposition says the assembly will be rigged in Maduro's favor. It says rewriting the constitution is nothing but a ploy by Maduro to turn Venezuela into a socialist dictatorship and destroy dissent. Officials in Senegal say 8 people were killed and many more were injured at a stadium in the capital at a football match, also called soccer. The sports minister said Saturday's stampede was triggered after fans clashed at a match between 2 local teams at the Demba Diop Stadium in Dakar. Police began firing tear gas into the crowd, causing panic. A wall collapsed as people tried to flee the stadium. You can find more on these and other stories from around the world, around the clock, at voanews.com. I'm Jonathan Smith in Washington.
That's the latest world news from VOA.